Eleanor McGovern campaigned for her husband at El Centro College in downtown Dallas at noon today to an overflow crowd of several thousand students gathered in the lobby. She talked mostly about her family and about opportunities, such as El Centro College. The audience was mostly McGovern supporters, except for a few who argued from the floor about Vietnam. One detractor asked, if we pull out, as her husband says, won't there be a bloodbath as there was when the French left?
But if any leaders are endangered when we leave Vietnam,
they say in the Communist Manifesto that they're going to kill me. They say so in their publicated manifesto. They have the
well, I have not seen that. That did not happen in 1954, but anyone who feels his life is in jeopardy, my husband has suggested that we and other nations offer sanctuary to them. But I wanted to elaborate on this. There are so many diverse political groups in Indochina, so many tribal groups who have had long animosities against each other, so many religious groups who don't get along. So they really have to work this thing out for themselves. It's very complex, and we cannot impose a settlement upon them. And I think that we are avoiding the day when they can find their own way by continuing a military presence in South Vietnam.
Ms. McGovern, are you tired?
Well, it's early in the day, no, but it's been a long campaign. I've been campaigning for 11 months, so it's, I'll be glad when November 7th arrives.
And so, after the rally, Mrs. McGovern went to another room for a news conference. Again, McGovern family matters were more the topic than current national issues. Channel 8's Jack Hill asked if she's upset by uncomplimentary remarks about her husband.
It was terribly difficult. I don't cry the first time I did, 19 years ago, when he first entered political life, and things were said about him that weren't true. But it's not easy, but you do grow a little thick-skinned. I guess you just get angry.
The man brought to Justice of the Peace W.W. Matthews Court today is identified as 23-year-old Ronald Ray Bradley of 1725 South Adams in Fort Worth. He has been in police custody for 2 days. After being warned of his rights, he was questioned about the Emma Davis murder. Law enforcement officers told me that he has admitted the slaying of the 85-year-old woman 5 weeks ago and led officers to an abandoned house where a portion of the woman's body had been buried in a plastic bag. Brantley has no police record other than being questioned in connection with the burglary back in 1968. He has no record of any mental disturbance. The arraignment of Brantley and setting of bond by Judge Matthews ends several weeks of apprehension on the part of citizens on the south side of the city.
Yeah, this will probably be the last felony marijuana trial for such a small amount of marijuana, and I feel certain, I don't think anyone could disagree that I'm being tried not for marijuana, but because I was against the war at a time when that was unpopular 5 years ago, that I've been iconoclastic in exposing public corruption and printing a lot of stuff that the people, the leaders of whoever they are, the county, that didn't like to be publicized.
Tomorrow is the deadline for registering to be able to vote in the November 7th election. That's whether you want to vote for president, for governor, or anything else, you have to be registered by tomorrow. Well, there are places set up all over Dallas County, Tarrant County, and most other counties. Shopping centers, booths in buildings such as here at Gifford Hill, where they have set up a special booth for people to register here at this company because, as the company president says, they're interested and they want their people to be interested enough to vote. We've talked with a number of the people who have come to register today and asked them why they're just now registering. You get answers all the way from, well, I just now decided on somebody I wanted to vote on, to, well, I just never did it before. Out here helping with this registration effort is John Childs from the Tax Assessor Collector's Office. Hello, John.
Hi, Russell.
I guess this has been kind of a hectic year for you, hasn't it, with a lot of changes in the law and registering all year instead of just in the first month?
We've had our problems. Of course, we've had so many changes, in the single-member districts and re-precincting the registered voters. The application is very simple: the name, the address, age, social security number, and the information must be correct. And the only requirement is that a person be 18 years of age or over, live in the county, and be registered 30 days prior to an election.
Okay, and that applies whether you're talking about the presidential election, the governor's election, or whatever. But again, you do have to have your name on the rolls by Saturday. This is Roger McDonald, Channel 8 News on the Move, reporting from a registration booth at Gifford Hill.
Well, I think Arkansas, they've had a little trouble their first few games putting it all together, but I'm sure that I think that they'll have a real good game, and I think we'll have a good game. I think they're going to probably come into this game real fired up and everything, so I expect them to be tough.
As far as you being ready and the rest of the guys, we looking at more of a passing game against Arkansas, or are you going to let Luttrell run through?
Well, it all depends on a situation. We haven't gone over really our game plan yet. I haven't talked with the coaches, but whatever it calls for, we'll either run or pass.
Oh, you played against Ferguson and Ripon before. How many passes do you think they're going to throw your way?
Well, I'm not really sure how many passes they're going to throw my way. I'm pretty sure they're going to throw a lot of passes because of the yardage the teams before have had against us. They worked on their passing game a lot this week, and I'm sure they're going to come at us with a lot of passes.
How many do you think that will be in the air?
Well, looking at their stats, they've thrown about half and half. They run about half the time, and they split it up pretty equally. So expecting a pretty good game in the air.
You think they'll be picking on your safety man since he hasn't had that much experience this year?
Well, no, I don't think they'll be picking on the safety man. I think they're going to go to some open spots in our defense, the weaknesses in our defense, more than they are the.
Well, first you catch the ball, the most important thing, and then once you do, you kind of watch and wait up for your blocking to get set. And once you're blocking, your wall gets formed. Well, then you just try to get behind it as fast as you can. But the main thing is to let the punting team get down on the ball and your wall to set. Then once you get behind the wall, well, then you've got it made.
Let's talk now about defending against the pass. You feel in working against top passers in the nation in your intersectional games will help you in a pass-minded conference race?
I think so, a whole lot. We played against a real fine passer last week in Strzok, who was number 2 in the nation last year. And this week we play against Pisarcek, who's another real good passer. And we've learned a lot from last week to this week, and I think it's really going to carry over in the conference against Ferguson and the better quarterbacks we play against there.
Well, so far I haven't sustained any type of injury. I've been a little sore after a few games, but everything's been working pretty well. I think that I've been getting pretty good protection overall. There's a few times that we have a little breakdown, mostly in just communication, I think, between the type of set that I'm going to use and the type of set that the line is actually blocking. But I feel in great shape, and I will continue to be so.
Are you satisfied with your passing?
Well, at times I'm satisfied with it, but I look in the records now over the last week, and I'm not satisfied as where I compare to everybody else. And for the next, what do we got, 13 more? Well, I hope 13 more weeks, but I guess we got 11 more weeks of regular season. I hope to be up near the top, and I think that I can be near the top.
Does it bother you when the offense can't go in from the 1, when blocking assignments fall down and the like?
Well, I think it's a little ridiculous that we can't score from the 1-yard line. Dallas has been a great power, especially inside the 10-yard line throughout the years, especially the 8 years I've been with them, and we've always been about a 90% scoring once we get into inside the 10-yard line. So scoring from the 1 is a very rare thing that we don't do, and it just happened the last few weeks that we're not putting the ball across, and we're having a lot of breakdowns up front. And I think that this week we've really corrected this, and I don't think we're going to have any further problems with it.
When I visited United Auto Workers Union Local 276 today, local President James Thornell was happy about the results of the strike vote. He said more than half of the 3,600 union members eligible to vote approved a strike by a margin of 93.5% to 6.5%. He reiterated the reasons for the strike vote.
Paragraph 78 says a lot of language, but break it down to you. Take, for an example, a man works on the line and he has a certain area to do a job assignment. He has 1 minute and 6 seconds to do his portion of the automobile as it runs through his area. If management assigns him 1 minute and 12 seconds to do that, he can do one of two things. He can run to get it, or he can float down the line and continuously be in a turmoil day.
You're saying a lot of the employees are having to run for their jobs, isn't it?
This is the problem. At the end of the first 5 days, we will submit a letter to management telling them that we now have 5 more days to negotiate.
When we left Thornell, he was en route back here to the General Motors plant to join the negotiations that started at about 1 o'clock this afternoon inside the GM plant. The only reaction thus far by the General Motors management has been one of surprise. They're surprised that the strike vote was ever even taken. The union leadership still feels that a settlement can be reached without a strike. What no one wants to talk about here this afternoon is the number of cars that won't be produced and the money that will be lost if a strike occurs. Jim Green, Channel 8 News on the Move at the General Motors plant in Arlington.
I think that there's some basis of that fear. You know, we started off under the old Federal Radio Act, mainly concerned with the allocation of the spectrum. Well, at that time, radio was primarily an entertainment medium. It did not even look upon itself, I don't think, as news. Now you've come to the other end, where many broadcasters say we are news and ought not be regulated at all. And you start off with a little narrow statement that because the airways belong to the public, they must be regulated. And from that, we've gotten into all types of things. But much of it has been in response to public pressure. Whenever an independent regulatory agency goes too far, Congress has a way of cutting it back down.
This year, our main thrust is toward working in small group situations at camp.
The man you hear is Mr. John Newman, principal of the George V. Dealey Elementary School in Dallas. For the 4th year in a row, Mr. Newman has brought his 6th and 7th graders to the Christian Youth Foundation, here deep in the East Texas pines near Athens in Henderson County. Most of this program is based on group dynamics. Mr. Newman goes on.
This group here to my right now is working on a mapping problem where they are using compasses and distances and measurements to map the campgrounds.
Then can we say that they're using fun and games and yet still learning?
Right. Learning in an optimal environment where such experiences that we plan here would be difficult at best and almost impossible in many situations to carry on in the classroom or campus situation at school.
What other groups do you have out on this particular day, for instance?
We have a group out now on what we call a survival hunt, which is a follow-up on this mapping planning here, where they are looking through a list of printed instructions on finding clues, making decision on really what the clue means in their groups, and then coming together after the final clue has been found, which is an abstract one, and in the particular case of the group out now, it is brotherhood in their day-to-day living situations from now on.
Yeah, I have to ask, when you have a group out on survival, how lost are they?
They're out on their own now, but of course all of the instructions and their planning keeps them here within the camp area.
You know, thank goodness it's just about lunchtime.
Very good, very good.
Boy, is it lunchtime. We're sitting here, mashed potatoes, gravy, peas, custard, home-baked bread, fried chicken. Eat your heart out, Colonel Sanders. You never had it so good. School was never this good when I was there. And it may be summer in October, but it's a great place to be just east of Athens. This is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News on the Move. I'm going to move right into this piece of chicken. That's good. That's good chicken.
Aerobics already have revolutionized the life of Dallas business executive Malcolm Carroll. Why else would a 50-year-old man get up before dawn to jog a couple of miles? Carroll is a business success, the president of a Garland chemical firm, but he was a physical failure until he began jogging earlier this year. He's now totaled more than 300 miles and has lost 50 pounds. But Carroll is not running just for his own health. He's also running for science. The science is provided by Dr. Kenneth Cooper and his staff at the Institute for Aerobics Research. Cooper devised the aerobics exercise program as a way to strengthen the heart, lungs, and circulatory system. The program is based on oxygen consumption exercises like jogging, swimming, cycling, and walking. Cooper feels such exercises are the keys to a healthy body, and now he's out to prove it through an aerobics research program that uses Carroll and 1,000 other men as its subjects. Cooper hopes to follow each subject for 5 years in an effort to determine without question if his aerobics program can reduce disease, especially heart disease. Cooper's ideas have won wide acceptance with the general public, primarily through the 2 books he's written on aerobics. And now he feels his Dallas study could redirect the practice of medicine from the treatment of disease to its prevention based on exercise. Cooper is about halfway through his 5-year study and is encouraged by the evidence he's gathering.
How do you feel?
I feel great.
Good. Well, this is an example of what we're doing here and really determining the level of fitness and trying to enable people to reach their highest level of fitness. And at this point, it appears that if an individual reaches a certain level of fitness, there is some protective effect as far as heart disease is concerned. And that's the thing that we're trying to find out in our Dallas study.
The study is conducted at the Aerobics Research Institute on Preston Road in North Dallas, an 8-acre estate of trees and grass crisscrossed by jogging trails. And those who come here to participate in Cooper's aerobics program are sold on its benefits.
Condition I'm in is one that I never dreamed I would reach because for 25 years, no exercise, and now I jog and I just feel fantastic.
With the help of those 2 books, Dr. Cooper's theories of aerobics are winning acceptance with millions of people. Among them, television reporters. Jack Hill, Channel 8 News on the Move.
Our country. If we feel that our country is doing something that actually we have almost in our own family.
Before me, Judge Simon Master to say the text on this day personally did appear Ronald Ray Bradley, Professor Earl Brown, E.H. Carter, P.W. Whithouse, peace officer, That person was guilty following warning by me. You're being charged with offense of murder, and an affidavit charging you with this has been filed in court. Now, you do have a right to hire a lawyer, have him present prior to doing any interviews, any questions by police officers, any attorneys that would represent the state. You're not required to make a statement. Any statement that you might make could be used against you. You have a right to an examining trial, and Ronald, at this time, your bond is set at $100,000.
Stoney, do you feel like that you were tried here more for...
And that seems to be what's important.
The thing is, though, if they put up their arm, they still, if they didn't use it, they...
Yeah, well, it's not it's for possession of something that I didn't.
Which is not
All right, we started here, right here, 360 degrees. Wait a minute, 60 degrees. You draw. How many inches is that? That's, I think it's 2 inches. Well, I'll get to you in a minute. Let's move on.
Is that right?
Degree of departure. What degree did you leave? What? Look at your field notes. Let's go and start. We'll go over here.
Okay.
Martha, my button
I don't have pencils.
Once you walk away from here, you can't read it.
Additional steps. That look like this? You come to Small Creek, don't cross. Okay. Can we go now?
Just don't mess with it. Don't kill it. Go put the weed slang out.
Yeah, you didn't notice that.
No, I didn't notice that.
20 seconds away from 23, going for 24. Looks like 25 is just about the it. And the man is now sweating profusely. That party was skipping a couple of these. I go about 22.
What?
You're strictly swimming, is that correct?
Yeah.
And you're swimming a half mile how many days per week?
6 or 7.
Appreciate your cooperation.
Oh, yeah. I had decided I fell off the treadmill.
It's always amazing the speed that you have. When does this afterburner take effect? As soon as you see an open space?
Well, on the option last year, we went out full speed towards the corners, and that's when I would kind of speed up around the corner when I get the ball. But this year, we can't. We have to stay 2 yards ahead of the quarterback, and I think that's going to kind of hurt us because we can't get outside, but it's going to help us in a way that we won't fumble as much.
This is because there were fumbles last year?
Yes, the pitch would be out. It'd be behind us sometime, then it'd be too far ahead of us sometime, and the reason was the quarterback didn't know where we were going to be last year, and this year he will.
Marijuana is going to serve, as the prosecutor says, as a deterrent to other drug users.
No, it can't. It's people are going to look at this and say, how ridiculous for, 2 joints to put a man in jail. Or
Commissioner, there is a fear on the part of broadcasters, and I don't know if you can erase this fear because you've been in this responsible spot now for 2 months. There is a fear that regulatory agencies have a tendency to get into areas that Congress didn't give them the authority in the first place. Have you seen any of this in the short time?
It's rather...
Yeah, I think it should. It helps a lot when you play with players. You get to know their moves. Of course, you're going to be closer to the players. And when we first came down here with the Fort Worth players, the St. Louis guys, we felt pretty close. There was a unity right off, it seems. So I think things are going to work out.
What about the training so far at training camp, the conditioning program? You feel we're going to open the season real good condition?
Yes, I like the training program this year. We're doing calisthenics. We never did them too much last year, and I think there hasn't been too many pulled groins. And I'm starting to come around in top shape, so I'm looking forward to the season.
If the crowd that turned out for this opening day parade is any gauge of what the state fair turnout will be, last year's 3 million mark may be topped. Grandmaster Art Linkletter led 17 marching bands down Commerce Street this morning as a prelude to the fair's noon opening.
There's something exciting about the first day of the Texas State Fair, especially if it's your first time to see it. It was for me.
Greatest day
And that's the end of my day at the fair. Martha McIntyre, Channel 8 News, on the move.
What are schools for? Schools are supposed to be places where kids are enabled to learn to want to learn. They're also supposed to be places in this country where kids learn what it is to be a free citizen. Corporal punishment, which is so pervasive in this country, outlawed in only 2 states, defeats both those objectives. You hit a kid, you create rage and frustration and fear, hardly encouragement to learning, and hardly an encouragement to know what it is to be a free citizen. In Dallas, and we're meeting here partly because of this reason, this is one of the worst cities in this country in this regard. Last year, according to statistics obtained from the schools by the Tri-Ethnic Committee, over 24,000 kids were hit. 17,000 were suspended, many because they refused to be hit. I would think that should be a cause of great concern to the parents of Dallas. What are your schools for? What kind of kids do you think this creates?
And listen to their problems and sort of take them beyond the problems they have.
This includes PTA costs.
That's right. PTAs, their high school students.
Yankee intern will be president the next year. That's
And you are the best anywhere. I don't know. I'm sure it's not quite the best yet, not being finished, but when it is.
We're a semi-public type of institution. Hey, how you making out? The Loyola and Rutgers, and I've been a lot of places. Taking. Yes, banks are immobile. They stay where they are, and the success of a bank, its economic welfare is tied into the welfare of the community in which it is located. So it is not only the right thing to do, the human thing to do, but it is good business to improve the community in which you're located.